Welcome back. Countries across the world united with Ukraine as Russia continues to press on with their attack.
And you know, we're seeing more and more companies and organizations that are disassociating with Russia altogether. FIFA and UEFA not allowing the Russian international soccer team and club teams from playing in their matches. The International Olympic Committee recommends the banning of Russian and Ukrainian athletes. The United Kingdom trying to remove Russia from Interpol. The shipping giant Maersk suspending all shipments. ExxonMobil removing all U.S. working employees based in Russia. Shell pulling out, BP pulling out, SWIFT as well. And, you know, we're kind of seeing in this age of social media, Emma, a cancel of Putin, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cancel culture.
Kind of isolating him. We've seen him sitting at the far end of a very large table here, kind of symbolic of how the world is treating him. Netflix also not planning to air state TV channels in Russia. Airbnb is offering housing for about 100,000 Ukrainian refugees at this point. So as you point out, companies taking note of this crisis. And of course, we've seen here at home, protesters speaking out in Times Square in Washington, D.C. They're standing with Ukraine in solidarity.
And the protests in Russia themselves, haven't those been inspiring? I mean, to see the Russian people standing up to Putin, because there, it's a 20-year prison sentence. You're considered a traitor. So that's not like standing on a street corner in New York City or somewhere else, right?
So
equally important, but
so
different ramification.
Absolutely. So we'll keep monitoring those protests. In the meantime, though, here's an important soundbite for you. President Biden asked yesterday by reporters about the threat of nuclear war from Russia. Here's his quick response.
We can see. Mr. President, should Americans be worried about nuclear war?
No.
All right, he says no. Our panelists are standing by with their reaction. Thane Rosenbaum, Jennifer Massey, and Scott Walker. Thane, I'll go to you again. What's the symbolism of Putin putting his nuclear weapons on high alert? And then, of course, your reaction to the president's response when it comes to fears Americans might be experiencing right now.
It is ironic, Emma, right? There was over 40 years of the Cold War where the Soviet Union and the United States faced off against each other, eye to eye, each one afraid to blink first, fighting a Cold War, playing mind games and war games, and not a shot was fired between them. And now all of a sudden, 30 years later, after the end of the Cold War, we have once again not only Russia, the former Soviet Union, but Russia actually engaged with the threat of nuclear weapons. So surely we should take this seriously, because we took it seriously during the Cold War, and it's precisely because we threatened the Soviet Union with mutual assured destruction that there was a stalemate. And, you know, 30 years after the Cold War is not a time to become complacent about nuclear weapons. And I'm not surprised that Joe Biden is trying to sort of be more measured, because we're dealing with the possibility of nuclear war. And no president wants to have his finger on the button for something like that.
Jennifer Massey, to you, all eyes will be on President Biden tonight, the State of the Union. And what will he say? How will he say it? There was a slip of the tongue yesterday, a small error, I guess you could say. Listen.
To hear her, to listen to her run the debates at the Security Council as well as the General Assembly at the United Nations, Thomas Greenfield. Linda.
The applause there you can hear, but President Biden, he quickly corrected himself, but he called the ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas Greenfield, her real name. Also, real quickly, Jennifer, polls on President Biden's mental sharpness to be an effective president. Democrats overwhelmingly saying, yeah, he's sharp. 88% of Republicans saying, no, he's not. It's going to be hard to hide any sort of misspeak tonight. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm sure he's going to be well rehearsed tonight, but I have friends that get totally plastered every time he speaks because they do a drinking game with his gaps. So it's not going to be surprising when he probably has some tonight, even though he's going to be reading from the teleprompter. I don't know what he's going to talk about tonight. He does have a lot of accomplishments. I don't expect a lot of clapping from people in the hall. We'll see what happens. Maybe he'll stress FEMA guidelines about masking up when there's a nuclear explosion, which are laughable.
Jennifer, again, as we await the president's speech tonight, we're getting some images in. This is live picture of St. Petersburg arrests taking place. We were just talking about this. These are anti-war protesters in Russia. criticizing Vladimir Putin, speaking out at the threat of arrest and then punishment beyond that.
Well, they've loaded
course.
about 8 or 10 people, we understand, there, so it's hard to say. I don't see handcuffs, but yes, that's right. This is an anti-war protest, and as we were mentioning the punishment there in Russia, it's a 20-year sentence in all. I mean, found guilty and convicted, but you consider that it's traitorous, right?
Yeah.
It's treasonous.
Yes.
There.
Scott
So.
Walker, your thoughts on these images we're sharing with our viewers in real time?
Well, it just shows you how hungry people are for freedom around the world. We see the fight there. We see the fight in Ukraine. It's why Ronald Reagan was right decades ago when he talked about peace through strength. And as was mentioned, won the Cold War without ever firing a shot. Unfortunately, we see a lot of weakness. Tonight, I think in the State of the Union, we're going to see the state of the unions, massive federal spending, and climate change. What we really need is to rein in the federal government, cut through the red tape, restore energy independence, and that in turn can help us support Ukraine and others around the world. At the same time, we help our own folks. Last thing I'd just add, I wish our president here in the United States would fight as hard to defend our borders as the president and leaders in Ukraine do. That would help us moving forward as well.
Yes, President Zelensky acknowledging he's target number one
Right.
and
And his family.
refusing
Exactly.
to back down. Absolutely. Great discussion with our panelists, Thane Rosenbaum, Jennifer Massey, and Scott Walker. Thank you so much.